please. Our gracious Heavenly Father, let's thank you for this day that we can come together and do your work for the Cherokee people and guide and direct us, that we can make good decisions and bless administration, bless the council, and give each and every one safe passage home after these meetings. And let's not forget the soldiers overseas and keep them out of harm's way. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Roll call, please.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Carrie Callan Watts. Ahani. Bill England. Bill John Baker.
Here.
Harley Buzzard.
Here.
Julia Coates. Bradley Cobb. Joe Crittenden.
Here.
Jody Fishenhawk. Here. Meredith Fraley. Here. Janelle Fulbright. Here. Don Garvin. Chuck Hoskin Jr.
Here.
Hannah Glory Jordan. Present. Curtis Snell.
Here.
Chris Soap.
Here.
David Thornton. We have a quorum.
Thank you. We do have a quorum. And I would entertain a motion to approve both the January 12th subcommittee and the February 12th regular session of the Executive and Finance Committee. Do I hear such a motion?
Okay.
Is there a second? Okay. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Next is our financial report from our treasurer, Ms. Catcher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have my written report, and if anyone has any questions on those, I'll try to answer them. I do have one update that just came out yesterday. Fitch Ratings, in their normal course, reviews their credit ratings every couple of years, and our report just came out yesterday afternoon. They have affirmed our BBB- rating and outlook stable, which means according to their review, everything is still good. It reflects strong financial operations of the health system, providing ample debt service coverage. So we were pleased with this update.
Are there any questions of Ms. Catcher? Okay. Appreciate it. Next, Mr. Stewart from Cherokee Nation Enterprises and Cherokee Nation Businesses.
Good afternoon. C&E had a good month in January. Our first quarter, fairly poor results. The biggest downturn in the economy, so we were hoping to see it turn January, February, and January. It did turn, and so far in February, the first 21, 22 days are tracking to be better than last year. So I think we're seeing a general uptick, which is extremely good. We're still behind budget, but we hope to catch some of that up. But I really think we're going to have an overall less than budget number for the end of the year. And we've worked with Callie to change our dividend estimate. So I think Callie, we're together on all of those projections. So working with her on that. The NIGC has approved the Hard Rock brand. So we received that a couple of weeks ago, so we're working on the transition. We're going to open as a Hard Rock on June the 1st with the grand opening in July. So that's not very far off. We have a lot of changes to make, but that's going fine. Construction-wise, everything is still on schedule. Financial results at Westside Loan continue to be good. I believe we're going to be a little bit over our original estimate on the hotel at West Siloam. So we still, we went out for a rebid to try to pull the prices down. We were $4 or $5 million over, and so we pulled back and redid the plans and went back out. So I think it's still a little bit over, but I think our board is very positive on the Northwest Arkansas market. So I believe that project will be approved, but it's formally on hold until the board meeting. So anything else on the cultural tourism side? I have a report that we sent to our board. We do that every month. So what I'd like to do, Mr. Chairman, is to just leave this here and you all can distribute it as for your own information.
Okay, thank you.
And it's just kind of a bullet point summary of what's going on. And, you know, this is a very hot topic, and so, you know, I know you all are getting questions out there about it, so I think it's real good that we keep communications up, and so you can distribute that
We'll
to
have our
everyone.
staff to make copies.
Yeah, that'd be fine. So with regard to C&E, that's kind of the summary. You have the financial report, which should outline a lot of the details. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to, you know, go over those now before we get into C&B.
Yes, Mr. Buster.
I just want to make a comment, David, about the hotel in West Palm Springs. It's happened to be in my district that I represent, but I just want to relay the message. If there's any indecision about the economy and stuff like that, you certainly wouldn't hear it right from me that got postponed, because I think it's more important to have people working than to get into a situation where the economy is going to go down further than we're looking at laying people off. So
Right.
I just want to pass that on just for your information, for the board's information, that, you know, I trust them to make the best decisions on it, but
I'll certainly do that.
I'm concerned about the economy like everybody else is too.
Right.
Thank you.
You know, it's, you know, the one good thing about entertainment is we see that most people still want to be entertained. And so we're not considered a luxury. You know, it's not like buying an expensive car or a boat. Those aren't being done. So we're going to continue to look at our results, and I appreciate your input, and we'll certainly relay that to the board.
Well, I just seen the increase at the participation in West Palm Springs, so the market looks like it's there since we opened anew enough, and I certainly want to take caution in the store of laying people off because of the
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions on C&E? Yes, Ms. Fulbright.
I don't have a question, but I've got a comment.
Okay.
Our Heritage Club went down to Rome to the Travel Plaza, about 20 of us, to see the movie, and we really enjoyed it. It was very good. But several of them noticed, and I did too, there weren't any signs that just said gallery. There was really not anything anywhere letting tourists know that there was a theater
Where it
in
is.
there.
Okay.
And we need proper signage cut, instead of just the local
Okay.
ones coming in there. There's nothing to tell you that there's a theater in the gallery.
Okay. We need to push people over there. Okay.
It was really nice. We really
Right.
enjoyed
Okay.
it.
Well, we'll take a look.
Thank you.
Any other questions on C&E?
Okay, C&B.
Yes.
We have a, I guess, final draft copy of the audit report for the consolidated group of business entities that will be issued over the weekend. And so you'll have that for your review. It's a clean audit. You'll be able to look and see the activities of all of our subsidiaries and the various companies. So I assume, Callie, that would be available to Doug. So you'll be able to see that. It's about a 40 or 50 page document, but it's very comprehensive. And I believe, is this the first year or second year that we've had the consolidated?
First year with C&I.
With C&I, and so this is a complete look at our companies. So I would encourage you to look at that. We reported a net operating income combined of about $109 million, made up of $116 from C&E, about a $500,000 loss from the landfill, about $3.4 loss from C&I, and then Cherokee Nation Businesses had a $3 million loss, and that's a result of the difference between what the companies reimburse C&B for their expenses. So that's kind of the, monies from the subsidiaries back up. They had a net loss as well. So $109 million, and that's on page 41. The supporting schedules behind that audit report are really a lot of the detail, so I would encourage you to look at that. We've had our first couple of meetings with all of the CEOs of the subsidiaries combined so that we can work on providing all the shared services out to them that C&B offers. So not only, some of the IT services that C&E has, but we're looking at the expertise that all of the companies have and then trying to deliver those out to the companies. And so we're just getting that going, and I expect that we'll really be able to help the companies with all this expertise that we have. It just hasn't been funneled, I think, in the right direction. So we're on that. There was a special request to discuss the New Markets tax credit and the economic development opportunity for that. And Marguerite McKinney is here. Marguerite is in charge of this program at C&B, and she's made numerous visits to the various communities in the 14 counties. There is a map where these tax credits can be used that is attached to that you'll be able to see. This program is a very legal and technical program. So there are a lot of rules and nuances, and basically C&B is I guess they're in control of the dollars that go out, these tax credits, and they have to provide all of the administration for the credits. And essentially what you do is you form an entity, and then the tax credits go into that entity. So we have all these legal entities formed, and then those entities are used to distribute out the tax credits to different areas. Do you need some more copies, or does everybody have one?
We all have one.
Okay. So the front page is just some bullet points, and Marguerite will hand out an additional 5 or 6 pages. We'll do that when we're done. It's a lot of detail, but I think from a format standpoint, we can go over it like this. Does everybody have it?
Yes.
Okay. So if we just go back to the key points, the front page, when we say $60 million, that's not $60 million. Okay, that equates back to about the tax credit on $60 million, which is about $24 million. So it's basically, if you had tax on $60 million, that would be about 30% of that, something around $24 million. And the way that $24 million is distributed is that we actually look for transactions of companies that companies are going to move, or they're going to buy a piece of real estate, and these credits are used to issue out to these companies to offset their federal tax liability. And that's where they get the tax credit. So let's say a company comes into Northeast Oklahoma, it's on the map, and they're buying a building and they're getting financing. Well, what we would be able to do is provide these tax credits through these entities to use in that transactions for the buyer of the building or the company that's going to be in the building, and we give that out to make the deal work a little bit better financially. So, I mean, that's kind of the nuts and bolts of it. It's very complicated. And Marguerite, do you have like a 5-minute summary of that you could explain to them a little better? I don't do it all the time, so you might, just the whole program.
The program was established actually during the Clinton administration as an economic development tool. And we're in our 6th round through the federal government. It's issued through the Department of Treasury. And typically what they have done is they've issued these allocation of tax credits to urban areas that needed to have a revitalization in economic development. This particular round, they took a rural emphasis and focus, and so we decided that it was a great opportunity for Cherokee Nation to come in and build a great story of why we need economic development in the 14 counties of the Cherokee Nation. And they allocated $60 million worth of, and you'll see the first bullet point is, it's an allocation authority. And so that means that C&B now has the authority to allocate $60 million in tax credits. And what we'll do is we'll bring in capital to qualified businesses located in qualified census tracts who need the equity to complete the business transaction. But for the Cherokee Nation's allocation of the tax credits, this project would not be able to go forward. So basically, that's what we're doing with the tax credits, is we're bringing in outside capital into qualified districts located in qualified census tracts.
So, go ahead. Excuse me, Councilor Hostin.
Well, I had a question about the map. These geographic units are census tracts, is that correct?
Determined by the U.S. Census Bureau.
And who determines which of these tracts are eligible for
The U.S. Census Bureau.
It's based on net income and economic condition of those tracts.
these? Is there in summary form any thing you can give us about how that determination is made? I realize it's U.S. Department of Commerce, but
Is it in your handout?
It is in the packet that I'll
There's a
hand out.
page in another handout. We'll hand it out in just a moment.
great, thank you.
So you'll be able to do that. There's also, you can get on the website and you can get in and see all this detail and do a little more research. Now, from a C&B perspective, our goal is really to, generate jobs for Cherokees and also operate businesses that are profitable. And so what we always get into is the battle between, do you just hire people or do you make money? And so you get into this whole, what are we really all about? So our strategy is to use these credits as much as possible to get businesses into the 14 counties that will create jobs. So in other words, instead of operating a business just for the sake of job growth and maybe not profit, we might be able to give these credits to a company that already is existing and have them be encouraged to hire Cherokees, have preference, and those things, as part of the credit deal. So that's how we're looking at it. Yes.
So let's use track 9733 as an example, which happens to be Bonita.
Okay.
There's an industrial park in that area. There's existing businesses. Are you saying you would partner with existing businesses, or?
Well, they would have to have a reason to use the credit. We just can't give them the credit. They have to expand or buy a building or something like that in order to get the credit. So we would help them expand.
And would C&B be determining which of these areas they want to focus on and try to cultivate that kind of partnership, or?
Well, yes. I mean,
There's a strategy.
yeah, and it's very difficult because, number one, the economy has limited capital, so there aren't many companies that are actually expanding. So the number of businesses that are doing this there's just not that many right now. We have 3 years to issue the credit, so we have a little time for the economy to catch up. But basically, we're going out. In fact, Marguerite made a presentation in Salisaw to the economic development groups and basically laid this out so that all these different, counties and all the chambers of commerce will know that these are available to get to companies that want to move into the area.
And will you keep us apprised of those outreach efforts?
Yes, sir.
As to where you've been and where you haven't been?
Yes, we can. In fact, this would be something similar to the cultural tourism. We could just put together a sheet that would update you every month on our activity and where we think those are going to go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Councilor Jordan.
So you do have a company that falls within this shaded area that is expanding, and they're going to the bank, and they're going to expand by adding new equipment, which will equate to more jobs for the people to run the equipment.
Right.
Who are they supposed to talk to about these tax credits? The bank, or do they contact?
Marguerite
Okay.
at C&B.
C&B, and it's somewhere on here.
Well, yeah, we'll get that. Is it on the website? It is on the website, so you should direct people to that website. Now there is a threshold, a minimum threshold for these kinds of deals, because it's very expensive to do this, because you have to have all kinds of lawyers and bankers, and it's very complicated, and the ongoing fees associated with it are pretty high. So there has to be about 4 or 5 million. Is that 10? What do you think is the?
We're expecting to do projects that are in the low end, $3 million, on up.
on up. So it has to be at least 3 million.
Dr. Cobb?
If we, and that's why I asked for your card, I mean, can we set up or have you set up through the various chambers of commerce to actually just come up and?
No, that's what we're doing. She has a program, and basically her job is to get out there, and you can set that up for us. We'd love for you to.
Well, I don't want to set it up.
Well, but I mean,
I just
but
want
we're
to
going
make
to be
sure, yeah.
we're going to be doing that in all the right, Marguerite. What's your
Organizing the summit that you suggested.
right?
And we bring in all those.
We as counselors could maybe suggest that you come up to our communities and.
Well, yeah, what we actually thought about was having a conference at the casino and invite all of the mayors and the Chamber of Commerce presidents to come in, and we would give a presentation on what the availability of these credits are and educate them on it, because it's very complicated. A lot of people don't know how to do it, and so we thought that would be a good way. So you might get word of that coming up.
In the industrial.
Mr. Baker first.
Yes.
I guess I'm a little confused about the light and the dark.
Okay.
So it only works in the dark areas?
Yes.
And so we're saying that Hulbert and Peg are over income.
Well, you know, I haven't looked at what the determination factors are, but all we know is the federal government told us this is where you get to use it. So,
Well, I mean, I appreciate them doing
Yeah.
doing my district and not Tina's, but
yeah,
still.
well,
I think Culver's in there.
Okay.
I just don't have any $3 million people.
And I know they're all rich over in Craig County.
Okay.
That's it.
Speaker Frank.
Have you had a request from the American Industrial Park? Okay. Are you going to come up and do a presentation there?
there's nothing there. So this is a very unique, and all the situations have to be, you know, all the stars have to be lined up in order for it to benefit. But I assure you that we'll be out there letting people know that we have it available.
Mr. Buzzard.
Has it been determined now that our tribes eligible to come in and develop a business and use these tax credits? I know we'd asked that question, or I'd asked that at the conference.
Now, there's a rule about unrelated.
Okay. Well, the bottom line answer to that is that we can't ourselves enjoy the credit.
Okay, that's what my question.
Yeah.
With the benefit.
Or the benefit. So we cannot use this for our own deals. This has to be for third parties, and so that's why our strategy is to use it in ways that will encourage jobs in the 14 counties. So that's the answer is no.
Okay. Dr. Collins.
And I may have been perusing through some and missed this, but there's a couple spots here that are outside our jurisdiction. One is west of Tulsa County, and one is McIntosh on the west. Were those just included on the map because they were?
Well, I believe that, and I don't know what the rationale in the application was for Brad's.
They gave us allocation authority in the full county,
The full county.
not just the traditional jurisdiction.
Okay, so it went to county,
Good.
which extended. So we will have some capability to get into Tulsa a little bit in the metro area.
Good.
And there's a limit on how much can go into metro versus rural, because it's a rural program, so there's some other rules about that.
Well, we appreciate your update on this.
Okay, is that what you wanted?
Yes.
Okay, so feel free to call Marguerite. She's at C&B, and just give her a buzz, and she'll be happy to answer questions, and we'll try to get these utilized.
You want to go ahead and pass out
Yes.
what's on the website?
Yes. They'll hand those out to you now, and then you can get onto the website and look at about the same thing.
Okay. Are there any questions Mr. Stewart.
On Ramona, we're still waiting for Washington Bureau. I do believe it's been recommended that for approval at the local office. So until we get federal approval, we really can't do anything more than we're doing now. So we're proceeding to get designs ready so that when we do get the go-ahead, then we'll be able to move quickly. I'm real optimistic about that. I think it's just a great location. So we'll move as fast as we can.
Okay. Thanks, Dave.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank
Marguerite. We appreciate it. Who has the handout on the cultural tourism? Okay. Could you get someone to make copies for us, please?
You know, I can get, you want me to do that electronically tomorrow, or would you rather make copies?
Okay.
Either
Yes.
way.
Yes. Just send it to Shelley and she'll distribute it to us.
Okay.
Okay. Next is Cherokee Nation Industries, Mr. DeVorstadt.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I believe you have my report for the month. I'll summarize it for you. Revenues for the month of January total $6,434,000 versus budgeted revenues of $11,301,000. Our actual pre-tax profit loss for the month was $233,000 versus a budgeted profit of $28,000. Of that negative variance to budget of roughly $261,000, the construction segment alone accounted for $263,000 of that. So that's our biggest impairment at this point to come close to our budget for the month. Any questions?
Any questions, Mr. DeVorstadt? Pastor Snyder.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
You reported last month that a loss of $158,000. Are you saying this month 233?
233, yes. Yes.
Do you have any plans, recommendations when you're going to turn this around before we hear a break-even point?
Well, the biggest impairment again versus our budget is construction. Construction had the lion's share of profitability in our budget. So at this point, we are struggling with trying to acquire construction projects that are profitable when we take into account the cost of bonding. So we're dealing with that at this point. Number one. Number two, the economy in general has had a really adverse effect on our telecom segment, which also had some profits in our budget. Versus last year, our revenue versus last year for the first 3 months, through January, is $1.7 million less than last year. October through January, revenue is $1.7 million less, but our loss is just about the same. So we're doing better with less revenue. We're gaining some efficiencies in aerospace and defense, and our corporate overhead is not, we're not expending as much as we had anticipated. So we're making improvement, but unless we increase our revenue base, we're not going to get to a break-even point near term.
Yes.
And the bonding, you said you had your bonding secured, or you're working on getting the bonding secured?
We have a bonding solution in place, but the cost of a bond, since it has to be fully collateralized, is about 2% a year. So if you take a project that's roughly a year and a half in duration, you're up to about a 3% cost alone in bonding, and a typical construction project has 3, 4, 5, 6, 7% gross profit margin. So you're getting real skinny now in profitability on construction projects when you have a bonding cost of 3% and typical gross profit margins today, at 3 to 5%.
So is this bonding, is this a cash bond or what kind of bonding do we have?
It's a regular construction bond where you have to put up 100% collateral. And the cost on that collateral and the cost on a bond, is about 2% per year.
So we gotta put up the 100% collateral
Yes.
for the bond?
Yes.
Yeah, typically, most construction companies, when they get bonded, will have anywhere from a 10 to 1 to 20 to 1 relationship, where we have 100%. Now, a lot of that is being a new company, tribal company, and not having the full sovereignty. And of course, as you know, bonding companies, underwriters want to be able to attach to the Cherokee Nation assets. And we didn't do that. We didn't allow that. So it's going to take some time, execution, performance, and that should start lowering. We should see over a period of time, over a couple of years, where potentially we won't have to be 100% collateralized. So it's kind of what I'm going to say is that upfront cost to be able to do bonding and that investment into that business. But our focus is on more negotiated, design build, things where we can try to get into the market where there's better margins. And that's what we're focusing on.
Okay, thank you, Chairman.
Any other questions for Mr. DeForest or O'Brien? Okay, thank you. Thanks very much. Next, Career Services and Employment, Diane Kelly.
I just wanted to add, since David's still here, Marguerite was up talking about the tax credit. We've had a couple of meetings over in Adair County, and we had a really fantastic one over in Sequoia County yesterday with their chamber. They had an overwhelming turnout down there, and a lot of businesses were there. And I just wanted to let you know that they are out there networking and doing what David told you they were going to be doing.
Could you, excuse me, Dad, if you set up these meetings, could you let the counselors in those districts know about them, please?
I did.
Okay, thank you. I should have known.
Did
that.
I not?
Sorry.
Did I not, Ms. Jordan and Mr. Crittenton?
Yes, you did.
Okay. All right. My report was late getting in there. Kim was on travel, and she thought she'd send it over, and when she got back from her trip, she found out it wasn't in there. But you can see our balanced scorecard measures. A lot of those numbers, as far as our goals, are going to hit after May because of the schooling and a lot of our placements. We do an annual report. That's when all of our numbers will hit, probably around July, August. So we're kind of like higher ed. A lot of our numbers come in towards that third or fourth quarter. In addition to the narrative that we have before you, I have to share with you some things that's going on. We've just got so many things going on, it's not funny. Don Berger keeps us busy with emails all the time about things that are going on in Mays County. And I've got staff assigned up there working with them. I had staff in Ottawa County today. They were at one of the casinos up there because the casinos up in that area are hollering at us to help supply their manpower. So Nettie Deathridge was up there at a meeting today because she's got Cherokees up in that Ottawa County area that need jobs, so she was networking today up there. There's going to be a coal company coming into Salisaw. The man was there at the Salisaw Chamber. Julie Ferguson, their Economic Development Director, was there, and their city manager, and everything is looking good so far. If it materializes, it'll bring around 200 jobs, and they've had a couple of businesses that have shut down in the Sequoia County, Salisaw area, so this will help the economy there. We've got caseloads that are getting ready to increase. We've been in discussion. The chief has had us working, Norman Merriman and my office, working on a day work program, which if we get that off and running, that's going to be an additional load on top of the load that counselors have right now. I'm in the process of moving people around, so if you hear calls from some of my staff, it's because we've got caseload problems in certain areas, and they're getting moved around because we've got problems where we don't have enough people to cover those areas. We're getting ready to move a counselor from Tahlequah down to Sequoia County. She's seasoned, she knows the area, and she's from that area. She lives in Muskogee, and she's going to be working 2 days a week in the clinic at Muskogee, Dawn, rather than 1 day. We're trying to get that caseload. We've got a caseload activity, we know that when summer youth rolls around, it's going to be even greater. So she's going to be based over there 2 days a week, 3 days a week, full-time in Sequoia County. And we're bringing another person from our Job Corps over to help out because we are going to start recruiting for our summer youth program March the 9th. Our recruitment will go from March the 9th through the 1st of May. The month of May we'll do our job sites. We will start placing our kids the first part of June, and it'll go through 9 weeks into July. Right now, with our summer youth program, our summer allocation, you guys gave us $500,000 additional. We ran those students through the fall up until now. We have a balance of $371,402 as of February, and if we run them up through the summer, we will go over. So right now we have a total of 100 students that are on the Tribal Works Summer Youth Program. We will not be adding any more because that's all the funds we have to run up through the end of July. Our 102...
Mr. Garvin had a question.
I was concerned about the coal company in Sequoia County. Is it COAL coal?
COAL.
Are they going to dig it or what are they going to do?
The man was there to do a presentation, but they didn't have time on the agenda to give him that amount of time. But he had some handouts, and he's supposed to make a presentation at next month's chamber meeting. And we did get his business card, and we got information. And we're in the process of networking with some of the employment partners to do a presentation for them on what's available as far as quality jobs and tax credits. I will.
Councilor Gordon.
Brian, did you say that you could only put 371 students on the summer youth program?
I'm sorry. Let me go back to my sheet. We have 100 on the tribal funds program right now that were carried over from the fall. And when we run those students all the way up through the summer youth program, that is if they choose not to terminate or they get terminated. Some of them will go into training afterwards. They will not. They'll graduate and they'll go on to training. And then we will have some slots open up there. But as it stands right now, we have enough money in that budget to run up through the summer youth program and keep those 100 on there. We will not be adding any new ones on tribal funds.
How many was on there last year?
Last year, how many do we have on tribal funds, Christy? Last year? 150. And we were told, Kim emailed us and told us that we're getting some additional funds on our economic stimulus money for the summer. We always get an allocation for that, usually March, April, and she got information that will be coming, and we'll probably be able to add on about another 250, but these will all be 102477, which means that they will have barriers to meet. I've got some policies here that I'm going to give out. I don't want you to get alarmed. I want you to take them and look at them. They're the policies that we developed for the Federal Career Leadership Program. And we also have the policies we developed for the tribal. And you'll notice that there are income tables on here. This is the Cherokee Nation Tribal Funds. And what we did is we put tribal funds 100% tables. We've got all these tables on here. And the reason that we've got these tables on here is that what we're hoping to do after we get our 102477 allocation and we know exactly how much money we have and whether some of these kids terminate at the end of the school year, whether we go 10 hours, 20, 40 hours, depending on how many hours they can work, then we'll have a better idea as to how much we'll have or how many slots we'll actually have. But what we're doing is we're doing tables so that you can see what the income is. Our 102477 has an income criteria, but there are needs that have to be met. With the tribal funds, the last two categories on that needs is high schooler going on to college, and they also have to be a tribal member. But we have those tables there because there was some kids that went all the way to table 3 or 4 in some of the areas. When we get in the northern counties, up in your area, Chuck, or up in Washington County, the incomes are a lot higher and they don't qualify in some cases for that 2477. So what we're trying to do is to get an idea as to how many are actually going to terminate. So we're going to saturate what we have in the 102,477 down in these 5 counties where they're going to qualify probably easier than they will in the northern. And then we'll put those tribal dollars up in the northern counties and try to allocate it as best we can so that we can put more slots up there than we did last year.
Well, what I think I'm hearing here is that somewhere in the mix, we don't have funding for at least 50 children, 50 young people. Because we had 150 last year, we got 100 now. So we don't have money for more slots. So I'm thinking at least 50 children that fell off the map here somewhere.
Well, Tina, we have not actually sat down with those 100 kids and determined whether or not they will continue past May.
But it's still just 100 slots, and we had 150 last year.
244, we just got word from him.
So we have 144 that there may not be money for.
Right. But at this point in time, we've got to get a head count on these 100 that we carried over. Because when you all allocated that additional money in October to carry them, those were the ones that were carried, and some of them were working 40 hours a week. And the one thing you have to remember is that minimum wage went up, and then it will go up again in July.
But even if you replace those, you still are short 144 slots. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Ms. Ketcher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Diane and I had visited, and we would be bringing a proposal back at the next E&F meeting for some supplemental funding after she gets all of her information together and we can sit down and review it. We do anticipate coming back in March and possibly asking for additional budget money. We're not requesting any at this time because the numbers are still moving and we want to make sure that we have a good number.
And with this economy, I think we're going to have even more people applying for these positions. So I think it's real important that we don't turn anybody away. We just try to figure out where's the money going to come from. These kids really need, this is no longer to buy clothes for school or buy high school rings. They're supplementing their family income now with the economy the way it is. They're having to work. They need to work. They need that job.
Mr. Chair, if it's the wishes of this committee, I have to report to education, which is in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We can probably get a better handle on it if you give us that length of time, and then that'll give you some food for thought for the time we have our next executive finance meeting.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Raymond.
Diane, is there, do you have people going to go around and, like some of our community meetings?
Yes, we are. That's one of the things that we're trying to get some of these counselors moved around in those respective areas, because once they get there, they're going to be charged with the responsibility of making sure that they hit every school and hit every community meeting that goes on in that area. And that's one of the things that they're going to be charged with. That's why we're trying to get these people moved around. So the reason I'm telling you that is because I had a couple of counselors say, well, I'm going to call my council member and let him know you're going to move me out of this area. It's because their caseload's down. And I'm going to put them where the caseload is. Are there any other questions?
Any other questions for Diane? Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Next, Anna Knight, in Commerce.
Good afternoon. I wanted to distribute to you guys today these are just copies of a business letter that we've started, or a newsletter that we've started for both the mortgage assistance. If you just take the 2 copies, take the top, I tried to separate them out because there's one for entrepreneurs and then there's one for the mortgage assistance people. So it's just a sample of how we're trying to increase our marketing and our communication with the clients. And if you're interested in receiving these electronically, if you let us know, we can certainly do that. We're trying to do them on a monthly basis. Other than that, you have a copy of my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, and if anyone would like to receive them electronically, does anyone want them electronically? You can let Anna know.
Okay?
Okay. Councilor Sullivan.
With the mortgage assistance program, who would keep the information or who would have data on? Recently, we've been receiving spreadsheets that these homes are in default, and they're having issues with the mortgages and things like that. Who keeps the track of our success rate or our default rate? Do you do any follow-up monitoring once you've approved and that money becomes available, or does somebody else do that currently? I mean, how are we tracking that we're being successful with those issues?
Okay. When we do monitor that, and if on the report underneath families housed, we give the state default rate is 2.13%, and the MAP is 3.3. And we also, this newsletter is one of our attempts to try to maintain an open line of communication with MAP clients so that they know to call us when they get in trouble. We also call them every 6 months for the first 2 years after they get the distribution, just to check on them and see if they're having any kind of issues that we can help them with.
So what's the total numbers that we've got in the queue right now for applications that have been granted for the 2008-2009 period?
200.
Because the list that we had was, there's probably 2 or 3 pages of people. And so is that an accumulation of years, or is that like 1 or 2 months?
The mortgage default, foreclosed list, that's a cumulative.
Okay, so that might be a number of years then. It's not something that's like a couple of months old or anything like that.
Right, and you can see on there when those people receive their
So
MAP
when you say
distribution.
3%, then if we've got 200 or 300 grants, that might be only 5 or 3.
Right.
Okay. I just kind of was concerned, so I'll follow up on that. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Buster.
And I've got a question on the first page on the investment economy. You got resale Fairland, 97,000. What does that mean?
It's a resale business in Fairland. It's a pending loan for a resale business in Fairland. And the total loan would be $97,000 if it's approved. It's pending approval, and the next board meeting is in March, so they should be reviewing at that point. And then the FT is the one full-time job is what that loan would create, or that business would create.
Mr. Baker.
I see on here where you're mentioning or telling about the first-time home buyers $8,000 tax credit, and so we do our $15,000 and they get the $8,000 and they're all, you're explaining all that to them.
We are. We're making sure that everybody that goes through MAP or is in counseling between those time periods, January to December, we'll make sure to explain, because they'll get that on the back end. They'll get that on their tax returns next year.
Any other questions for Anna? Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Next are our consent items. We have the tarot certifications, which were in your packet. Let's entertain a motion to approve those that have been recommended for approval.
Motion to approve.
I'm sorry, what, are we on tarot then?
Yes. I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Next is the cemetery restoration assistance applications.
Mr. Chairman, in addition to the list that was provided in your packet, there's 4 additional cemeteries of Cherokee, McCoy, and Sequoia County, Raven, Downing, and Barber in Cherokee counties.
What was the first one?
Cherokee McCoy Cemetery.
Excuse me, the first one in Cherokee, yeah.
Oh, the first one in Cherokee, Raven.
Raven, okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next, law enforcement request.
As you're aware, this is the first month that we brought in law enforcement assistance since the funding became available, and there were 3 of them, Craig County, Nowata County, and Shoto Police Departments. In addition to that, there are 2 additionals, Mays County Sheriff Office, $10,000 for vests, and Town of Strang for emergency equipment for $5,000, Mr. Soap. Mays County, my report I'm looking at has Harley and Meredith. Is that correct? Okay. Okay. It's just a type in error here.
Money goes further that way.
Okay. You're contributing, right, Chris, on that instead of Harley? Mays County Sheriff's Office?
Yes.
Okay. I'll get that correct. That completes the list, Mr. Chairman.
Do we hear a second? Okay, the motion's been made for approval. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Next is community assistance.
In addition to what was distributed, it's been brought to my attention that there's a previous approved January assistance in Cherokee County, Holbert, that's been revoked, rescinded. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. In addition to the list, that was $1,000. Now the list has 8 projects in it, or recipients. Also to that list, Jack Robbins Cemetery for computer equipment and supplies, $746. Ms. Fraley. Grove Public Schools, $1,500 each. Mr. Schnell, Mr. Buzzard for scientific research. Fairland School, $500, Mr. Buzzard. Cultural activities. Afton School, same amount, also for cultural activities. Oak Grove Baptist Church, $500, Mr. Garvin for the Native American Men's Conference. Cherokee County Junior Livestock Show, $2,500 each, Mr. Baker, Ms. Jordan for the add-on for up to $100 for Cherokee citizens in the FFA show.
4-H and FFA.
4-H and FFA, okay. Stillwell High School, $500 each, Mr. Crittenden. Ms. Fishing Hawk for Cherokee student scholarships, that same amount by each counselor is also given to Cade Springs High School, Westville High School, and Watts High School. And lastly, Veneta Public Schools, $2,000, Mr. Hoskin for the BSIBF, is that correct? Project.
Yes. Okay. Everybody has a letter in front of them from the Tribal Youth Council, and they are proposing to have a powwow, and they're asking for $850. And they've got their expenses, and on the cover letter, these kids work really hard, and they have fundraisers, and they do a lot of good all over the 14 counties. The $850 could be achieved if each one would give $50 to their community assistance, and I, for one, will do that.
I'd like to do that also.
Okay. Who would like to give the $50? Or who would not? Okay.
Can I get $50 since we doled out money?
You want to get?
Y'all haven't given me a public assistance account where I can hand out checks like this. I just don't think it's fair. Do you?
Are you asking for $50?
Come on. I need to hand out a check or account. Thanks, Dr. Cobb.
Okay.
Yeah, here you go.
Mr. Garbus.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve this.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, next are the roads.
There are no road projects this month, but there are a couple of access projects, one being in District 3 with Mr. Thornton, Watts Wildlife Refuge Road access for $1,003, and Delaware County District 2 maintenance, Mr. Buzzard, for $2,501. And I just want to point attention that the motor vehicle allocation and apportionment are on your report this month. That yielded slightly over $96,000 for each account.
Do we hear a motion for their approval?
Make a motion to approve that.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay. That concludes our consent items. Next is old business. Mr. Sutton.
Yeah, before we get off the consent, we were talking about donations and so forth. I think Doug had a comment in one of his, in his report that talked about there was a donation to some group that didn't really have any type of designation or anything like that. Maybe Callie can comment on that, or it was in your report. I'll go back.
In the budget mod?
Not in yours. It was just your analysis there, Doug. I think I was, hopefully I wasn't reading that.
No, you didn't.
The other book. On your summary.
Are you
Charitable contributions to the Oklahoma Academy?
Yes. Yeah, there was no documentation provided in the budget mod.
Okay. I can get that for you. I'll just have to call over.
I was just,
But that's on the budget mod, right?
Right, that's
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, it'd be a separate account from the community assistance.
okay, I'll ask the question when we get there.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Surely. Okay, in old business, we have discussion pertaining to donations made by Cherokee Nation business entities. And I believe they were to bring back a policy.
Mr. Stewart asked me to address that as he had to leave. Policy, he approved the policy, but he did not have it with him today. But he wanted me to tell you what it says, that all of the money spent from the fund that was discussed the council will be notified after the decision has been made, but before the check is sent out, because that was some of the issues that we had with the inaugural contribution, was that it was posted publicly within 24 hours and before the council had been fully notified. So this way, before the check is ever sent out, the council will be notified of expenditures from that fund above $10,000.
Ms. Jordan.
I make a motion that we table this so we can see the actual policy possibly next month.
Certainly. I apologize. It's done on paper, and Mr. Stewart, I thought he was bringing it.
Motion's been made and seconded to table until next month. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thanks, Mike. Okay. And if you could get that to us before the packets go out, Mike. Excuse me. If you could get the written policy to us before the packets go out next month.
Certainly. I think we can probably get it emailed to you today.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Next is new business, is budget mod. Were there any problems, Mr. Evans?
No issues other than the one pointed out by Mr. Soap on the lack of documentation on charitable contributions. I would add that we are taking this about $250,000 more into our cash match for grants program due to our child enforcement grant being disallowed a significant amount of their in-kind contribution requirement from last fiscal year. So there's about $150,000 that we're needing to supplement that program due to the disallowance of that in-kind. In doing so, we're replenishing our cash match for grants pool back up to the $500,000 level for future grant matching. The rest of the mod basically is about a $700,000 to $100,000 increase, about $1 million increase with a little over $600,000 being in the proceeds of sale carryover from the housing funds, and the balance being and the HOSDAs carry over predominantly in homeownership building packages from the 05 IHP.
Mr. Hoskins.
The Oklahoma Academy, is that a donation the administration makes unilaterally out of a budget already approved?
It's a donation they're requesting.
Who's requesting?
Administration.
Administration is requesting to add it to the donations budget. This is the big budget that has all of our donations that we go through during budget hearings. Greg is requesting a copy of it's for a leadership academy, and Lita is, it's for high school youth. I'm trying to find the location.
Is it?
Yes. Yes, Mr. Baker.
Now, is this requesting the same fund the chief just said he didn't have to make donations?
I don't want to speak of that at a time when it's appropriate.
Why, is it inappropriate?
No, I think it's totally appropriate, and I would like to add some additional comments to that.
Well,
but Greg, first, Greg was explaining.
The Oklahoma Academy, it funds, helps training leadership programs for high school students in the area, and that's what the donation is for them.
Okay. Mr. Sutton.
Did you say where the home base was?
I'm trying to find out right now.
Thank you.
Isn't this that PowerPoint they're doing?
I don't know.
It's in Oklahoma City, but we have a region that is over our area, and so it goes for that region.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Is there a motion to?
Good question.
Yes.
Are you saying that that budget will fund Cherokee students?
To my knowledge, it's a donation to that program, and they will the program serves at-risk students, and it will, at public schools, and it's for this region here. The home base for the organization is in Oklahoma City, but it has a southeast region and northeast region throughout the state of Oklahoma. So the answer is it would be for all students. It's not Cherokee specific.
Okay. Let's entertain a motion for the approval of Mod 5.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? Did all those in favor say?
Did he just not say that this money was going to non-Indians also?
Yes. Well, it's going to an organization that serves Indians and non-Indians.
I'm curious, does anybody know if it's 59%?
Pardon?
Anybody know if it's 59%?
No, you may ask the question.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
I'm curious about how many Indians does this go to since it goes to non-Indians too?
To my understanding, I don't know a lot about the program. I'm sorry about that. But to my understanding, it would be a donation to the organization, just like a donation you would make to the Zoe House or that sort of thing that serves both Indians and non-Indians.
We make sure Zoe House serve people understand.
Well, I don't have the figures on that. I can call and try to get that and get back to you if you'd like. Okay.
Ms. Jordan.
Who made the motion? Would you accept the friendly amendment to table number 1 till next month so we get more information? I mean, there's a lot of questions about number 1.
I would.
And Janelle does a second? Okay. So item 1 on $25,000 donation to the Oklahoma Academy is taken out of the budget mod. There's a motion to approve the balance of it. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, by affirmation. Okay. Yes, Mr. Henry.
Mr. Chairman, with the pleasure of the committee, I'd like to take issue with some of the impromptu comments made by our principal chief here concerning our community assistance program. This program has worked, and it has worked for since 1999. And we have gone through many of different, the program has matured over the years. And last term, the principal chief wanted the program to be to where every item was approved by the committee and put in the budget. That was done. And there are many safeguards in there. And for the comments for him to make that this was some type of program doling out cash, well, that's not true, and I take issue with that. You all are where the rubber meets the road. You have contact with these organizations. These monies go directly to Cherokees and helps them directly. I can only think that his comments were based on the fact that he lost the line item veto tax.
Actually, I think you're preaching to the choir here.
Well, still, it was a comment made in the open record, and I believe it was in connection with him losing that line item veto case. But anyway, I'll be quiet.
Okay, Mr. Baker.
And not to beat a dead horse, but today, I make the call to administration, like I have made for the last 5 years, to help the 4-H and FFA kids. We've done it since, we've done it for, I know, 20 years, where we've made donations for these kids that go out and they raise their animals and they feed them and they come and show them. And if they make the sale, then they get to sell them at a premium auction. And the Cherokee Nation, since Don Crittenden, way before me, has donated to that project every year. And we've been doing it through Cherokee First. And I called over there today, and they have changed their policies and said, we're no longer doing this. Well, had we not had our community assistance, and had you not had the foresight to raise it up, I would have been one upset person this afternoon, or at lunch, to know that they've changed the rules. I wasn't aware of it. I'm assuming nobody here is aware of it. That, you can't go and you can't get, those type of projects funded anymore. Well, this is a great project, and we can do it out of ours, and we did it, and you have passed it today, and I appreciate it. And but the kids are still going to be. It's not going to change just because the policy changed across the hall. And I thank God that we had the foresight to put it in, so that when those glitches hit, we don't have to go back and say, sorry, the Cherokee Nation's not important. You're not important, or this project's not important anymore. And so anyway, and there's other things like that, and to sit there and say I don't have a fund to give the checks out when we're right on the heels of $50,000 that none of us knew about until it was already given to the inauguration. I just think it is the epitome of not to, I don't want to, anyway, I think it's wrong. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Because we're getting to things that not on the agenda, and we've already covered and approved that. But I will, Mr. Thorne had his hand up, I will allow his comments, but then I'm cutting it off.
I just have a comment to Mr. Baker's comment. The FFA and 4-H students, we have a lot of Cherokees out there, and I've been approached by those Cherokees to help buy their animals, or else help buy their animals at the end of the year. And it's a great program. We don't put funding into that program as the way I think that we should have. I know personally that the Choctaws put over $250,000 into that program to help their students. And it really puts in mind that I'm not giving you anything, you're having to work for this. And that's exactly what we was talking about a while ago. But that's only a statement I have. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, are there any announcements? Yes, Mr. Buzzard.
I think everybody's got a invitation for I believe it's April the 25th, for painting there at the J Clinic, so I encourage you to come out and help us paint that clinic up there. We've done a lot of work up there, so everybody come out. We're going to have breakfast up there, I think. Gino, Lyle, actually, CNE is sponsoring the thing, so I'd like to see all of our council members up there. And if you paint something on there, I'll come down and help you there, Jeff.
Are there any other announcements? Then entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor say aye. Aye. We're adjourned.